Hey, what's up, friend? Are you a mama who wants to stop just getting by? Maybe you're motivated to grow yourself in your motherhood, your marriage, and you want it to bear fruit. Or maybe you want to stop letting the mom guilt, the shame, the limiting beliefs, and lies. Amen. That's me right there, sister. And start stepping into the woman and the truth that God has created you to be. While we're juggling all the things, right? Nursing a baby, battling laundry, trying to keep it together, and a spicy marriage. But where the heck do we start? Hey friend, you are in the right place. I am here to hold your hand through this journey because I believe when you're ready to take control of your life, beat the limiting excuses, and step into the woman God created you to be, you can not only survive, but you can thrive. But you're gonna have to show up for yourself. It's time for me to tough love your way through taking self-care seriously, investing and growing in your marriage, and owning your motherhood, and getting rid of those excuses because the glory is in the journey. It's in the mess. In this podcast, you'll find navigating mom guilt, mindset, and marriage strategies, and everything in between, with no fluff and lots of fun. Let's go. Hey friends, what's up? Welcome to So She Grows. I am able to hop on real quick, do an episode, and I make that sound like I'm putting you guys in an extra bonus episode, but really I skipped the actual day that my episode comes out, and my toddler went to bed early, which is probably going to bite me in the butt, but it gives me extra time to record to finally get this out to you guys. So I am super pumped that you're listening in. We're going to be talking all things marriage. And y'all, you guys know that I do not hold back when it comes to those topics that we feel icky about, that we feel uncomfortable about, that we don't want to put out there in public. You guys know I'm all up in my Facebook group, asking you guys all these questions. And I can tell that you guys are just you want to answer and you have trouble in this area, or you want to share your opinion or your thoughts, but then you're sweat, right? You're sweating in your armpits. You don't want to post. You don't want to be the first one to comment. But I love it when you guys do, because then other people start to comment and it becomes a really good conversation, and also solidarity in that we are all just in this messy thing called marriage, called life, called parenthood, and we don't know what the heck we're doing, but hey, we could give some breadcrumbs out for each other. And so that is what we're talking about today. And today we were talking about how often you should have sex. Wait, sorry. Some of y'all just really quickly turn down or turn off your podcast in the car. Let me disclaim real quick. This is not an episode for little bitty ears. Your kiddos in the car. This is not something we want to be like, hey guys, let's listen to a podcast today. No, save this, turn it off, do this another time. This is mom time. All right. Let's mom chat real quick. Okay. So here's the deal. Before we get started, I just want to say, everything that I ever say is because I am for you. I am never against you. I'm for you. I'm with you. I am on your mom squad, okay? And with that, I want to remind you that there is no such thing as a perfect marriage. There is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all marriage. Everything that I share, there may be one nugget for you out of that whole episode, because your marriage is not my marriage, right? It would be probably not healthy for you to do 100% of the things that I say, because you're not me. So I can share my opinion, I can share my thoughts, and then I want you to take them and apply them as you see fit for your own life, your own marriages, and your own parenting. Also, as a proud member of your mom squad and your cheer hype mom over here, your cheer hype friend, I have an obligation to have honest truths with you. So that is what you're going to find in this episode. A lot of love, a lot of fun, a lot of honesty, and a lot of honest, hard truths, because I love you. So let's get to it. So like I said, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage, okay? And we feel pressure to put ourselves in positions to perform, right? Date nights come up. They put their arm around you. They want to snuggle. Already you're triggered, jumping 5 steps ahead, oh my gosh, am I expected to perform this evening? It's a date night, it's a wedding, it's a vacation, it's a whatever, right? And you're already oh my gosh, he's going to expect this from me. I don't feel like it. And it's triggering, right? Because you're sweating, and it causes problems, right? But we're also moms, and we have busy lives. We have kids hanging all over us, sucking off of us half the time, right? For a certain part of our season, or we're just in a really high demand season of the rat race of we go to work, we pick up the kids, we do dinner, we do bath, we put them to bed, all this stuff, right? And so sometimes we just feel like we can't get out of mom mode, and we're exhausted and we're tired, and the kids are coming in the bed at night, or we're potty training, and we're having to wake up in the middle of the night, or there's nightmares, or somebody's tummy hurts, and we're doing all the things constantly. We're pouring ourselves out constantly. And then, like, where is the room for intimacy, right? When there is an expectation, and the expectation is put on sex, then we feel pressure to perform, and then it becomes another box to check, right? So if we feel pressure, like just when I said, how many times should you be having sex in your marriage, right? Immediately a number popped in your head, and you already compared yourself to that number, and you're already guilted, shamed, tried to put it in your list of like, oh my gosh, it should be this. It's probably this, and I'm not adding up to that. I'm already failing. Oh my gosh, like you're already going through comparison. It was already giving you guilt. It was already making you unhappy and making it be like just this, just like already like, gosh, I forgot. I have to add that to my list of things to do tonight, right? It becomes this box to check, and how awful is that? That's like the same as being like, oh, I should probably kiss my husband this morning. Let me check that off my box. Not because you genuinely enjoy it, but because it's like part of your running long list of things to do. Like, how would you feel if your husband's had this running long checklist and on it was love my wife, give her a hug, right? Like, it's different when it comes from a place of, I'm so busy, I genuinely love you and I genuinely want to connect with you, but I need a reminder, like I need a mental reminder to slow down and stop, versus just one of those things that you dread, but that you want to check off so that you feel like you are a good wife. So I know you're itching to know this number, so let me give you a quick spoiler alert. There is no magic number that says you should be doing any amount of intimacy or sexual performance with your spouse, with your partner, a week. In recent studies, there's like 20-something% of married couples are having some sort of sexual act one time a week. If you need some sort of example, that is the boat that we're in, you guys. So like, if you thought I was going to throw out some number here and you were going to have to compare or measure up, or you're going to have to adjust your number or your frequency, like, the honest truth is that we're all in this trying to figure out the rhythms and seasons as they change, and then adjust our intimacy and stay connected. And we as individuals are constantly evolving and changing, and so are we as a couple are constantly evolving and changing as well. So let's talk about this, right? Okay, you first off should know that you aren't alone, right? 20% is not a huge number. Okay, you are not alone. And the number gets smaller as the frequency gets higher. But I want to say that you don't want to have a marriage that is just meh, right? Like, you don't want an average marriage. You don't want a just getting by marriage. Like, why should we settle for that when this is the one life that we have, the one relationship, the one marriage that we have? Why not have the best? Like, we don't get a do-over. We don't get a do-over. So if you feel like you're in a situation where it's your needs aren't being met, and obviously his needs aren't being met, and there's a disconnect somewhere when it comes to this, obstacle in your marriage, then we need to do something about it. Don't just sit on it and hope that it's going to help itself, right? Like, it doesn't. Problems don't solve themselves most of the time. We need to do something to get things in forward moving motion, so that way we can change, we can see something positive happen, and then we can reap the benefits, right? Like, you don't just hope for a garden to grow or a vegetable garden to grow in your backyard, right? You know, just be like, oh Lord, drop some seeds from the ground, let it rain, right? Like, we don't do that. Like, we have to go out there, put in the work to see that garden grow. And even then, like, the insects, the little rabbits and all that come to reap on that harvesting that you did all that hard work. So you got to work harder. You got to cover it with the armor of whatever it is, like, right? I don't know what I'm talking about, y'all. We got to put barriers up, right? We got to protect it from outside influences, outside things that want to attack and kill your garden, right? Just like today with marriages, like, there are things and movies and shows and gossip columns and radio shows and podcasts and like literally from every inch of every sort of way that they have to reach you. They're telling you what it should be. And it also mostly goes in favor of either way too far for the woman where she's like this dominatrix and like controlling kind of thing, or it's like where the man wants it now and the girl needs to serve, right? And I think that we need to find the healthy balance that is for our marriage, that is God-centered, right? That is us, you and your husband, and that you guys are both happy, you're both connected, and you guys, you know what? When you're intimate, you both feel more connected, and guess what? You communicate more, which is what we want, like, right? We want communication, and they want intimacy because that's how they feel connected. It's like this vicious cycle that if we could just figure out how to get out of and break, we would be functioning better. We would be thriving instead of surviving. So let's talk about this some more. If you're both happy, the number doesn't matter. It's the quality over the quantity. If you're mutually satisfied, okay, you're mutually happy in your sex life, then don't worry about the number. Ain't nobody's business but y'all's, okay? Nobody is spying on you. Nobody is judging you. You do you, boo, right? Okay, if everybody's happy, and you want to be more happy, then work on that. Like, right? We don't just feel awful about our bodies and then we're like, well, and then we stuff our face with Oreos, like, and just pretend like we can ignore it. And then somehow, like, that's dreadful. We don't want to do that to our marriage where we're like comparing ourselves constantly to other people, but then yet we're too scared to get uncomfortable, to move forward, to see growth, to be, right? Like, we want that. I want that for you guys so bad. Like, if you can't tell already, I am here for it, for you, right? Like, I want you guys to be just like, what is like La La Land all up in here, okay? Like, running through the streets, skipping and singing songs because you get lucky and you both enjoyed it, okay? Like, that is what I wish for you. So, we have to stop shaming and blaming ourselves. We have to stop saying, what is wrong with me because I don't feel like doing it? Or what is wrong with me because I don't enjoy it? Or what is wrong with me because XYZ, right? We have to stop assuming that it's just us. Like, it's a two-way door, right? It's a two-person, it's a team. It's a team effort. So instead of looking at it as you against him, like your needs versus his needs or your desires versus his desires, it's no, we are a team. How can we make this? It's like us versus sex, right? It's us, like, how can we make this better together? How can we work at this together? How can we look at our intimate time and make it beneficial for both of us, that we both enjoy it? We are on the same team. That's what we have to start reframing. So I suggest you practice that right now. When you move into the bedroom this week, next week, whatever, is that you start looking at it as you are a team. It is a mutual satisfaction time. It is not your needs versus his needs. It's not like, we need to have open communication, y'all. And we need to normalize open communication about intimacy in the bedroom. Putting yourselves in that situation where you have pressures to perform makes you dread it, makes you avoid it, makes you not want to do it. You're uncomfortable, you're resentful, there's all sorts of things. And then you're constantly tired, right? So then you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to, I'm tired. Because you're avoiding the actual reason and circumstance of being intimate in the first place, right? Okay, and then the next point I want to make is that having a fixed mindset about what intimacy looks like will also hinder your intimacy with your spouse. Y'all, society and social media and all those things have told us that in order for us to feel beneficial, and we're going to go there, y'all. So if your kids are listening, please, please, please do not let them listen. You're going to be having conversations that they ain't ready for yet, okay? So if you are in this situation where you have this idea of what intimacy looks like, I bet your spouse has a different idea of what that looks like as well. Because we were raised to think a certain way. We were raised and upbringing with environmental influences and relational influences and things that put in our minds what marriage, what intimacy, what sex looks like between two people. It does not have to be that way. You guys as a couple get to define what that looks like. Then you get to go share that with your spouse unashamedly, okay? Because if you don't, then you're assuming and you're not giving them an opportunity to adjust. You're assuming without giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? That's like me assuming Well, we all hate when people assume that I don't want any food, okay? Like, I'm hungry. If you don't feed me, I'm going to be angry that you didn't ask me if you were going to go, like, if I wanted something when you were going to Chick-fil-A, okay? So we can get in trouble when we assume with our spouse because then we're not giving them the opportunity to show up, to make a decision for themselves. We're deciding for them. And maybe it blows up in our face. Like, I can tell when I've had a conversation with my spouse and it blows up in my face because I chose the wrong way to address it. And then, you know what? I don't just like forget about it because it's a problem that we need to talk about. It's just that I probably delivered it in the wrong way. So then I take notes and I'm like, oh, crud, that didn't work out that right way. Let me rethink this approach here. And then I approach it in a different way. And 9 times out of 10, when I reapproach it or when I apologize and say, you know what, I came off wrong. This isn't what I meant. I love you, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is what I was really trying to say. It ends up okay. But when we have a fixed mindset about what intimacy looks like, then we are stuck with that trap, right? Like, it doesn't have to mean that you come to completion or that this, it has to be done a certain way in order for you guys to be successfully engaging in this act. You get to make up whatever that looks like for you. It doesn't even have to mean that you're actually having sex sometimes, right? It can be a lot of foreplay. It can be a lot of things, okay? And then if you haven't listened to, before I get all up in the areas of things that are not my realm to talk about, go back and listen to the episode about sex and libido with Janet Denton House. In this podcast, you will find us talking more deeply about that. And she is a desire coach and sex expert, and she really helps women really enjoy sex again. And I suggest you go back and listen to that episode. Okay, especially if you want to finish this or not, and you can relate to anything I'm saying already, definitely add that to the lineup for the things that you're going to listen to. Okay, she's going to be on again soon. I'm super excited. It's going to be so good. But okay, so Jessa Zimmerman, another sex therapist that I found when I was doing some research, I wanted to give you guys some numbers and some tangible tips because first off, I want to tell you that, girl, I know how it is. I have a toddler. There are seasons in life where I feel like I can't show up for my husband the way that he needs me to show up. But the thing is that we got to verbalize that. Like, there was a season where I didn't feel good. My toddler wasn't sleeping. And there was something else going on to where I was literally getting like zero sleep. And the idea of me pouring myself out in another way for my spouse was like just impossible. And he could see that. But it's also good to give them the visualization of what you're doing because sometimes they don't see it, right? Like they think that you're Superwoman. They think that you can do it all because you never ask for their help. So they don't know that you're drowning. Even if you think that they should, okay? That's a whole nother topic. But okay, Jessica Zimmerman, a sex therapist, she says that we get stuck in the sexual avoidance cycle. So listen in and tell me if you can relate because this is a cycle that we need to break. Sexual problems. It starts with sexual problems, which are like experiences that don't meet expectations, things that are causing conflict in the bedroom or just any kind of sexual issue, which lead to disappointment, which makes somebody feel failure, sadness, or inadequacy, which then turns to avoidance. So now we felt those things. We felt shame. We didn't like the way it made us feel. So now we're avoiding that situation. And then we feel pressure. We then feel like the increase of self-consciousness and stress about performing a sexual act. And then it goes in this cycle of the problem, the disappointment, the avoidance, and then the pressure because it's not happening. So here's the deal, friend. We don't have a certain number or a certain scoreboard that we're trying to get to or that we're trying to mark off on our list, or there's no tallies going on above our bedposts right now, okay? But here's the deal. When we don't have any sort of intimacy or sexual performance, right, then we are opening the doors for resentment, for discontentment, for separation, for seeking comfort in other sources, and it can really put a rift in your marriage. So although there is no number, again, I want to just emphasize to you guys that settling for meh, or that's just how it is going to hurt you in the long run. It's like when you have a leaky pipe and you just try to pretend that it doesn't exist. Like, your problem never goes away. You could cover it with gum, right? Like, you can try to put gum around the hole or whatever, but it's still going to end up busting, and the damages later on are going to be so far greater than now if you were to address it now. So my plead for you is to really take your marriage, your intimacy, your sex lives into your own hands. And if it's not working, to do something. Okay. And we're all in it. Okay. Like I included continuously, right? Like there are things that change and seasons of life that change that I have to be like, oh, like this is not working for me no more. And then I have to communicate that and just get comfortable. And y'all, it was super awkward in the beginning because I felt like I was super small and I felt super silly for saying like, oh, I want to try this. And then thinking that it would work for us and then trying it and be like, oh yeah, that's not at all what I thought was going to happen. Right. And then I have to be uncomfortable enough to be like, that didn't work. I'm sorry. Like, can we just go back and try something different? And then just continuously, and you know what? When we are clear on what we want and what we need, and we can verbalize that to them in a positive way, which I'm going to tell you guys how to talk about this topic with your spouse in a non-confrontational way, then one, they feel like it's sexy because you're getting involved. Two, it obviously will lower the chances of conflict because you're on the same page, or you're at least starting the communication channels. You're getting clearer, you're getting more connected, you're working through it, right? And it's hard, it's awkward, and we're going to hurt feelings on accident sometimes, but what do you have to lose, right? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? They could get pissed, they could walk out, right? But what happens if you don't? So you get to try again. You get to be like, you know what? Like, my intentions weren't to hurt you, to belittle you, to make you feel small. Like, my intentions were to tell you because I want our relationship and our intimacy and our sexual experiences to be the best. Like, I want you to enjoy it. I want you to come home and I want you to want me, and I want you too, right? Like, I love that for us. Like, I can see it and I want it, and you know, like all these things, right? So let me tell you how we can talk about these in a non-confrontational way. And maybe I might get my husband on here to ask him about this as well and see what his thoughts are, which if you guys go back and listen to a lot of our marriage uncensored, I don't remember what they are, but he's in a lot of those episodes. And we have a specific episode that says, let's talk about sex. I can't even remember what all we covered, but I guarantee we covered communication and this stuff that I'm talking about right now. And getting a male's perspective is super duper helpful, y'all. That's why I ask him on, because I can tell you all day long, like, how I, on my side of the situation, would handle it. But, like, it's so helpful to hear how a man perceives what we're saying and what our intentions are, and then how we can adjust so that way we are accurately communicating what we really wanted to say. Okay, so go back and listen to those. Janet and Hal's episode about libido and sex life, and then also my marriage uncensored, I think it is, or something like that. Those episodes with my husband, let's talk about sex. Those ones, highly recommend. So let's get to this, right? We're all in a place of like, amen. Yes, I'm in the same boat. Girlfriend, tell me what is going on. I don't know what I'm doing. To now we are talking about non-confrontational ways to have a conversation with your spouse about your not so great love life, okay? So the first thing is, do not, which I have a tendency to do because I need to get it out there. It's in my brain. I've come to this place where I'm ready to talk about it and I just verbal vomit. Do not verbal vomit all over your spouse all of the problems and all of the things going wrong in the bedroom, okay? Their ego would be, and their pride and their level of respect would be so shot down that they immediately would have guards up. They would immediately be defensive, and it would not go the way you want it to go. Like, you want to have open ears. You want it to be a safe space where nobody feels judged or like they're having fingers pointed at them, okay? You want this to be a really productive conversation. So do not verbal vomit all over them. If you need to get all the things out, if you need to vent in some way, like journal it out, girl, scribble on those pages, get it done, okay? And then you can decide what you're going to conversate about first. So I would not say to verbal vomit. I would also not say to do it at a random time where you just like getting him as like a deer in headlights, okay? Like, he comes in the door and you're like, by the way, I can't stand the way you do this anymore. Blah, 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 right? That would be like, what a quick way to shut down a conversation so fast, right? Which brings us to number 2. Do talk about one issue at a time. I know that we get into a place where like, we're like, yeah, girl, like, let's do this marriage thing, right? And then we have all these ideas of the things that we can do to fix. Like, let's just do one thing at a time, okay? Like, let's focus on the small thing. Like, you can read your husband, you know best. So you've already thought of, okay, when's the best time to approach him? How am I going to say this? What is the one thing that you can feel like will be the most disruptive or most non-confrontational way? And then you just have to be serious. Like, you just have to be like, look, babe, like, I know you don't typically want to talk about this stuff. I know that we kind of like laugh about it and brush it off, but like, I really seriously want you to hear me right now, because if this is not addressed right now, I could see this really impacting our marriage in a negative way, and I don't want that. Like, I want the best for us. And it's not you. It's like, we just need to team up on this. Like, this isn't me talking at you. This is me wanting to talk with you and discuss like our happiness and our intimacy together. So do you see like how I created that conversation where I wasn't like, you don't show up and I hate when you do this and that thing that you think you're doing and the way that you force me, right? Like, we want to make this about us. Like, this is a team effort, and then they feel like they're not being attacked. And this is not a switch or bait and switch kind of routine. There's no tricking here. This is just genuinely approaching them like how we would want to be approached, right? If they came at us and being like, girl, what, that thing that you think that you're doing, like, no. Or, you should do it like this on this video that I saw. Like, I mean, could you imagine how you could respond, right? So then that leads us to the fourth thing. Try to add in positive statements. Like I said, how I just restructure the way that I said things, right? To make sure that I was including them in the conversation, not talking at them, not attacking them, not pointing fingers, and try to add in positive statements. I know that there's a rule that some people say, like, with every negative statement, give 5 positives. So like, you may say like, hey, this isn't working, but I really love this, this, and this, and this, and I really enjoy this, this, and this, and this, right? Like, you can do that, and it kind of lessens the blow. And then I statements. This is in any marital conversation where you focus on you. I feel, I am struggling with, I need help with, but mostly I feel, right? Then it's about you, and it's not so much like you don't, right? It just changes the situation and their mindset going into the conversation when you say, like, when you take ownership and you're coming in it from a I instead of a you aspect. It's less attack vibe-ish, okay? And then focus on you, not telling them how they messed up. I think I already covered that. And then lastly, what do you want out of the conversation? This should have been number 1, but I thought of this last. But before you talk to your spouse, you want to know, like, hey, what is my goal out of this conversation, right? That way you're not talking yourself in circles, and that way you don't get into this conversation and you're like, oh, I just wanted them to hear me. I didn't want to come up with a solution. I wasn't ready for us to go like all solution mode over here yet. Like, you just needed to be heard. Like, what? So that way you don't go into it with the approach of one thing and then them delivering another and everybody's all frustrated. Like, it's helpful if you can be clear with your emotions, where you are at, and like what you're really feeling about your intimacy and what is true and what is not. So you may need some time to chew on these thoughts for a while before you go and approach them with the conversation. You may need to talk with yourself and be like, okay, do I want a solution? Do I want us to just kind of put this out there in the air and like, let's digest it and let's plan on coming back to it later? Will my spouse want to solution, problem solve right away, because you know that about your spouse? So then what does that mean for you? Like, already have this in mind. That way you aren't going into this conversation with the thoughts of one thing and your spouse has the thoughts of another. If you can go into it just like those times when you have conflicts with your friend, or when something is going on at school with your kiddos, where you could say, hey babe, like, I just want you to listen to me right now. And then like, if you want to problem solve in a little bit, like, but I just need to put this, like, I just want us to have this conversation together in a healthy way, and then I want us to like come back together as a team and like really problem solve together. But I think, whatever. Or like, hey babe, I just really want you to hear me and listen to me and hear what I have to say and like give me your thoughts. Like, so if we're clear, then it's not just like we verbal vomited and now we don't know what to do with all that we just put out in between us. And then like things can just go haywire at that point, okay? So let's get clear. Let's journal it out. Let's decide what we want to talk about first. Let's be really intentional about how we approach our spouses with these things, how we're going to say it, when, where. Do not like do it here. Here's another tip. Do not do it in the bedroom, because that is y'all's place of intimacy. That should be like your safe zone, your safety den of connection, of coming together. If like everything else in the world is grabbing for your attention, attacking you, like your kids are in the kitchen, like all the things, like you guys should be able to retreat to your bedroom and it be your space and it just be yours. And you feel safe there because that's where you guys come together and it's you against the world. You guys against the world, okay? So try to find another space that is equally as private. Do not do it at a time where like they're about to go out with the boys. Like don't do it at a time when they've been drinking. Don't do it at a time when like your in-laws are about to spend the weekend with you, right? But don't wait too long, right? Like we've already been sitting on this uncomfortable rock for a while. And like I said, the pipe is going to burst at some point. And the damage is going to be heavy. So let's do something about it right now. Let's take action. Let's take control. And let's start thriving. We ain't going to survive no more. We want to thrive in our marriages because it's only this one. We only have this one life, this one shot, and it should be the absolute best. And we should find the most joy, the most love, the most connection. And you know what? I don't care who told you or what thoughts you have in your mind. You deserve it. Everybody does. No matter what, you deserve it and you should experience it and enjoy it every day that you're alive. Okay, that is it. I am so glad that you guys hung in there with me through this probably uncomfortable conversation that you have with your online bestie, your AirPod bestie, but that is what I'm here for. And y'all, we're all doing this together, figuring it out. It's messy. It's great. But you know what? There is beauty in the mess. Okay? We will find it. It's there. I promise you. Okay? So, hey, while we're on the conversation of marriage and motherhood, don't hang up your ear pods. I was going to say hang up your phone, but we don't do that anymore, right? We just like click. We don't even flap the clothes anymore. Or close the flap anymore. Is that what it's called? Flip-flops, y'all. Like, I'm not even in that realm anymore, so I'm lost. Okay. Moving on. The Social Girls Marriage Method is coming out next week. You guys, I'm so excited. If you want to have a God-centered approach to your marriage, you want to reboot, you want to revamp, you want to work on yourself from the inside out with your marriage, and you want to take responsibility of you and what your contribution is, because you know what? Like, I can't control your hubby over there, okay? Like, at the end of the day, neither can you. We can only show up as best as we can and give it 100% as we can that's in a healthy way for us, that is going to bear fruit for our marriages and communication and moving forward and loving ourselves in those hanky-panky days of our marriages, okay? And that is going live next week. I'm super excited, so stay tuned. You're going to be able to join the Social Girls Marriage Method. Y'all, I just got winded because I got so excited. So anyways, stay tuned for that. I'll be sharing that live on the podcast and also in the Facebook group, Social Girls Mom Community. Get in there. We are talking about all things marriage this week and leading up to the launch and release of the Marriage Method. So I will catch you guys next time. I hope you have an amazing day. Y'all, I'm praying for you. It's going to be all right. All right, guys. Catch you next time.